Part 25. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 251. Okay, I was wrong. Seeing that Jingzhe was really angry, Mei Yitong stopped messing with him. I was joking with you, you really took it seriously, she said smilingly and looked at Chuxia. Sister Chuxia, brother apologizes to you, don't be as knowledgeable as a rough man like brother. From the conversation between Jingzhe and Mei Yitong, Chuxia had already judged that Mei Yitong and Xiaoyuan belonged to the same faction, so, as Zhou Mikang's wife, she would naturally not be kind to her husband's enemies. However, with the attitude of the other party, if she confronted her tit for tat, she would not only be tasteless but also unreasonable. Jingzhe was struggling with how to deal with it, and Jingzhe said, "What kind of sister are you calling me? You also called my sister? Zhou Mikang is a month older than you, right? You should call me sister-in-law." The smile on Mei Yitong's face froze. For a moment, he said, "Then why do you call her sister?" Jingzhe glanced at him sideways. "Chuxia is my grandpa's granddaughter, what should I call her sister if I don't? Zhou Mikang still calls me brother Sheng. Seriously, you know that. That's your business, let's have our own opinions," Mei Yitong said while looking at Chuxia. "Sister Chuxia, you really like fried dough sticks." "It's none of your business what I like to eat." Chuxia simply put down the fried sticks and spoon. "You caught my husband," she heard this from Jingzhe's voice. "No," Mei Yitong quickly explained, "you can't say that about this matter. I am a soldier under Director Xiao, and I obey orders. No wonder I do it. Just like you listen to your teacher, I also listen to my leader. What's the use of talking so much, and it turned out you were the one who caught it." Chuxia curled her lips. "You're shameless enough. You arrested my husband, and you're still pretending to be a good person here. Can you pretend? Or, are you trying to take this opportunity to ruin my reputation? You can't be so unkind, can you?" "No," Mei Yitong scratched her head helplessly. "This little mouth is really powerful. Forget it, I can see it too. If you don't welcome me to sit here, then I won't be annoying. You brothers and sisters take your time." He stood up and patted Jingzhe's shoulder. "I'll go to the hospital to find you later, something really happened." "There's nothing to talk about between me and you." Jingzhe glanced at him lightly. "The Jing family won't help anyone, you should give up on it. I'll talk to you later, don't act like you know everything." After Mei Yitong finished speaking, he waved his paw at Chuxia like a beckoning cat. "Sister Chuxia, see you later." Chuxia twitched the corner of her mouth, but said nothing. "He's just such a shameless person, don't take it to heart." Jingzhe helped Chuxia put a steamed bun on the plate. "Don't just eat fried dough sticks, try this, it tastes really good." Chuxia picked it up and took a bite, then nodded with bright eyes. "Yeah. It's delicious, it's really delicious, my father will definitely like this. Next time my parents come again, I will bring them to eat." Jingzhe nodded with a smile. "Okay. Let Zhou Mikang bring you to eat, but this is not because my brother is stingy, but because I am worried that Zhou Mikang will be jealous." "Brother, are you giving Zhou Mikang eye drops anytime and anywhere?" Jingzhe, who was seen through, smiled embarrassedly. "It's impossible for me to treat that guy as a brother all at once. When I was in elementary school, me, him, and Mei Yitong were best friends, but now when we were in middle school, each of the three families was the master, and the relationship gradually faded. Relatively speaking, I have a good relationship with both of them, but they have become enemies, more than studying, more than chasing girlfriends. Yamiru likes Mei Yitong, but the Ye family likes Zhou Mikang. It is estimated that the elders do not want any accidents, so they went through the study abroad procedures for the two of them and sent them out. At that time, Zhou Mikang was frank and stupid. When I told him that Yamiru really liked him, He didn't listen to him at all. He just thought I was helping Mei Yitong. It was also after that he and Mei Yitong broke up completely. To be precise, it was Mei Yitong who broke up with him completely. After Zhou Mikang and Yamiru broke up, Mei Yitong gloated for a while, and whenever he saw Zhou Mikang, he would try his best to humiliate him. But later, when Zhou Mikang was only focused on work, Mei Yitong's attitude changed. Once chatting with me, he himself admitted that his hatred for Zhou Mikang was unreasonable, and the other party just listened to the opinions of his family. If it wasn't for Zhou Mikang, or he was the one who was broken up, then he should be grateful to the other party. However, people are like this. They were destined not to be friends, so he put this matter aside. At a party, the two of them just met. Mei Yitong hesitated for a long time, and went up to greet Zhou Mikang, but Zhou Mikang turned around and left. Since then, the knot between the two of them has grown deeper and deeper. The relationship between the three of us has completely collapsed. In fact, Mei Yitong's heart is not bad. If he is like Xiao Yuan, he can take care of Zhou Mikang before Grandpa Wan sends someone. After hearing Jing Zhe's explanation, Chu Xia felt a little puzzled. According to what you said, you and Mei Yitong can be regarded as friends, so why did you treat him so coldly just now? The current situation is too sensitive, and I don't like friends taking advantage of each other. Understood, his usual attitude towards you is not as good as it is now. That's right, so his intentions are too obvious. That said, he is not a good person. Okay, if you say he is a bad person, he is a bad person. Jing Zhe pointed to Chu Xia's empty bowl with a smile. Do you want another serving? No, I'm full. Chu Xia glanced at the time. At this time, everyone probably hasn't had breakfast yet, so let's pack a few. Jing Zhe smiled wryly. Chu Xia, did you feel uncomfortable when I told you about Zhou Mikang's past? No. Chu Xia smiled at him. Brother thinks too much. What happened to Zhou Mikang before has nothing to do with me. Why should I be unhappy? I just received so much information all at once, I couldn't digest it, and I also understood the embarrassment you were caught in the middle, so, I don't want me to embarrass you too. Are you mad at my neutrality? Chu Xia secretly sighed. This Dr. Jing is really sharp enough to see the problem. She does not like his way of doing things. Maybe it has something to do with her personality. She especially dislikes sloppy things. Of course, Jing Zhe also it's not a fool on the wall, but she just doesn't like this kind of person who stands in the middle and doesn't touch anyone. A little bit, though, I can understand. Chu Xia, there are some things you still don't understand. Neutrality is not because you are afraid of things. It is necessary. One day, you will understand, Jing Zhe said and got up. I will pack a few copies and take them home. You wait here. Chu Xia felt a little embarrassed, so she smiled at him without saying a word. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 252. One more. Chu Xia girl. Looking at the man flashing in front of her, Chu Xia frowned. What are you doing here? Can't you see that I hate you? Mei Yitong grinned. I just want to ask you, why do you hate me? Does it matter? Chu Xia looked at him in disgust. You look like this to show Zhou Mikang that one day, during the period when he was restricted in his life, his wife was very close to you. Too smart. Mei Yitong gave a thumbs up. Brother really thinks like that, but I'm curious, can you bear his bad temper? He only has a bad temper with people he doesn't like, Chu Xia pointedly said. That's right, he used to treat Yamiru very well. He really is a man who values sex over friends. By the way, you know Yamiru, right? Chu Xia nodded. I know, you like her too, but you didn't catch up. Mei Yitong's face froze. That's what he told you. Do you think his character would tell me such boring things? Everyone knows about your relationship, don't you know? Everyone knows. Mei Yitong was taken aback, and then said, even if everyone knows, he's more embarrassing than me. Sister, it's really kind of brother to find you. Brother sincerely advises you to leave Joe Mikang earlier. He will marry you not because he likes you, but to find a woman as a substitute. Seeing that the girl is so good looking and so smart, how can she be willing to be a substitute for others? Right? Judging by your age, you are less than 20, right? Leave and find a good family. It's not difficult at all, that's all my brother said. Whether you listen or not is up to you, but if you don't say it, I feel sorry for you. Why is there no glass of water on the table? I really want to splash it on his face. Alas, the porridge is so clean, it would be better if he didn't splash the porridge on his face. Find something to vent your anger on? This wife talks about a bad man. If she doesn't teach him a lesson, she really can't bear it. What are you looking for, girl? Si Chu Xia turned her head to look for something. Mei Yitong asked in bewilderment. At this time, Chu Xia had already picked up the bowl in front of her, thought about it, and raised her hand and threw it at Mei Yitong's head. Oh, sister, you are really infected by Zhou Mikang. Mei Yitong turning his head and dodging, he grabbed Chu Xia's wrist. Sister, put the fire away, brother is for your own good, how can you be so ignorant? Let go. Chu Xia gritted her teeth and said, now she feels deeply, deeply. Good skill is king. I'll let you go and stop beating people. Mei Yitong looked at her seriously. I won't tease you anymore. Tell you something serious, don't beat people up. Can you? Who are you, brother? Chu Xia frowned and looked at him. Also, no matter what you say, I don't want to hear it. There's no need for that. Okay, then I'll call you Chu Xia. Chu Xia, don't think so badly of me. Let me tell you this, if it wasn't Xiao Yuan who went to arrest Zhou Mikang that day, then Zhou Mikang is definitely not in the right place now. Place. Just from the fact that you didn't succeed in beating me just now, you should understand that if you are restrained, you can only suffer with peace of mind. No matter how good Ren Zhou Mikang's skills are, at that time, he was still a fish on the chopping board. Think about it, isn't it reasonable? You mean, I have to thank you, Chu Xia pouted. By the way, don't arrest them one by one. He was only temporarily restricted from moving, and he didn't commit a crime. Okay, don't I think it's easy to understand, Mei Yitong sighed. It's true that our family has different political views from the Zhou family, but that doesn't mean we approve of the Xiao family's approach. This time, what the Xiao family did was too unreasonable, and it was really not what the Mei family wanted to be teammates with such a family with no background. It's not convenient for us to get in touch with the Zhou family. It's a coincidence that we met you today. Please send a message to Mr. Zhou. The Xiao family is now planning for the Ye family. Although the Ye family is nothing to be afraid of, the Ye family in the capital is by no means something the Zhou family can fight against. You let Mr. Zhou make plans early. You also know what is the relationship between Ye Meiru and Zhou Mikang. Originally, the members of the Ye family hoped that one day Zhou Mikang would marry Ye Meiru, but suddenly, he got married just like that. Believe me, this is a difficult thing to accept, so, in this case, it is impossible to say what choice you will make. It's better to be prepared than to be caught off guard. I'm telling you this because Zhou Mikang and I are friends after all. Although he has a bad temper, he is an upright person. It's not worth it to be killed just like that. A man should die if he dies, right? Chu Xia looked at him seriously. Are you representing yourself, or the Mei family? The Mei family, originally, wanted to use the relationship between me and Jingzhe, and Jingzhe would help lead the conversation. However, I happened to meet you, and it would be better for you to handle this matter. Chu Xia was silent. Don't doubt my motives. I really respect the Zhou family and that's why I did this. Besides, you are just passing on the microphone. The Zhou family will make the decision on how to do it. Chu Xia glanced at him lightly, nodded, I see, I will tell the Zhou family. I found that you and Zhou Mikang are really a perfect match. Apart from helping Zhou's family, I'm helping you, without even saying thank you. By the way, you don't know that I'm helping you, do you? I know. Chu Xia said expressionlessly, with my background, there is nothing I can do to help the Zhou family, so you give me a chance to help. Seeing the complacency in the other party's eyes, she spoke quickly. Turn, however, who said that I can't help the Zhou family? What you see may not be true. I want to thank the CMA family for their kindness to the Zhou family, and it has nothing to do with you. Seeing Jingzhe coming over with a few net bags for lunch boxes, Chu Xia realized what a mistake she had made. In this age, there are no convenience bags. Packing so much is really troublesome. She rushed to meet her, thinking it is necessary to take a few net bags from the other party. Jingzhe flashed his body, no, I can bring it here. His eyes swept across Mei Yitong's face, and his brows frowned, a barrel of coal, are you a fly? I don't thank you for my efforts. Mei Yitong snorted and turned around to leave. From now on, I will never do this kind of thing again. I'll talk to you on the way. Seeing Jingzhe looking at her worriedly, Chu Xia hurriedly said, pointing to the lunchbox and net bag in Zhou Mikang's hand, couldn't my brother buy it with money? Jingzhe shook his head with a smile, no, I know the person in charge of their family, these, just send them back. When the two got into the car, Chu Xia told Jingzhe what Mei Yitong had said to her. After pondering for a while, Jingzhe sighed, if this is the case, I have misunderstood him, but he also has a prejudice against the Ye family, so I think Grandpa Ye may not make the choice he is worried about. The car drove into the courtyard. Chu Xia took the lunchbox back to Mr. Wan's house. Mr. Wan got up early to go for a stroll. Chu Xia handed the lunchbox to Mrs. Yin, then turned and went out. Because of the events during this time, the Zhou family naturally got up earlier. When Chu Xia entered the door, the nanny had already put the food on the table. Chu Xia, come and eat. Zhou Jiping waved her hand to greet her, saw the lunchbox in her hand, and hurried forward to pick it up. What did you mention? Chu Xia smiled at her, first greeted Grandpa Zhou, Grandma Zhou, Lin Yangkaiu and Uncle Zhou's family, and then said, my parents have returned to their hometown, and this is what I packed for food on the way. Why did they go back? Mrs. Zhou asked first, didn't they say they lived here for a while before leaving? I can't help you. They are living here idle. They feel uncomfortable, so they want to go home and take all their family assets. They can help as much as they can. Although Zhao Yulan and Lin Bao he asked her not to speak out, but, with her character, she really doesn't like that kind of approach, so she told the truth. They. Lin Yangkai looked at Chu Xia dumbfounded, you child, why didn't you stop them? It's not like you don't know what's going on in our family, alas, this happened. Chu Xia said helplessly, I can't persuade you, I've said it all, they have such a temper. Mr. Zhou waved at Chu Xia, sit down and eat some more, okay, let your parents work, turn around, let's make up for it. Lin Yangkai hesitated for a moment, then said, Father, I'm fine anyway, why don't I go to Chu Xia's house to have a look? Don't. Mr. Zhou waved his hand, at this time, you stop it, no good, this marriage is equal, do you understand? Thank you, Grandpa. Chu Xia got up and bowed solemnly to the old man, my parents will be very happy knowing that you think so. This is Xia Honglu's meal. Over there, Zhou Jiping had already opened a lunchbox, stuffed a small steamed bun into his mouth, chewed and praised, it tastes so good. Chu Xia, did Xiao Zhe send it to his in-laws with you? Lin Yangkai asked. Yes. Chu Xia nodded, my parents are afraid that if you find out, they will stop them from going back, so I have no choice but to ask Brother Jing to go. Mrs. Zhou nodded, That's fine, they can rest assured. Brother Jing helped me bring it to the door to go home, and he also packed some for the house, Chu Xia said again. The child is worried about our misunderstanding. Mrs. Zhou smiled and shook her head. How can the Zhou family do it if they are so tolerant? Yeah, at a time like this, how can I argue with Zhu Xingkan? Lin Yangqiu said with a forced smile. Although I feel uncomfortable, I know that this approach is the best. Mom, since you know this is the best way, what do you mean by twisting your face like a bitter gourd? Damn girl, I'm your mother, so you know how to make fun of me. Lin Yangqiu was so angry that she slapped Zhou Jiping, and tried to turn into a smiling face to look at Chu Xia. Chu Xia, Mom didn't blame you, really. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 253. Mom, if you can't laugh, stop laughing. Zhou Jiping glanced at her mother and said, you laugh so creepily. Zhou Jiping. Okay, I won't talk anymore. Seeing that his mother's anger was aroused, Zhou Jiping hurriedly begged for mercy. When I was going to eat, I met Mei Yitong, and he asked me to bring a message to my grandfather. Chu Xia learned the original words that Mei Yitong asked her to pass on to the Zhou family. After she finished speaking, Mr. Zhou sighed softly. He really has a heart. He said, looking at the family, aren't you all curious about what I did yesterday? Since Chu Xia is here, I will tell everyone. I went to Ye's house and played chess with Lao Ye for a day. Dad, no matter what decision you make, we will listen to you. Zhou Shanping quickly expressed his opinion, and Liang Xiaohong also echoed, Dad, it's okay if we let us be ordinary workers. Since yesterday afternoon, both Zhou Shanping and Liang Xiaohong have been on vacation. The so-called vacation is of course a compulsory vacation. Wait a few more days, we have done everything we need to do, the next decision is beyond our control. Mr. Zhou sighed slightly. Don't worry, I won't let Rao Rao's tragedy happen again, this is my bottom line. Dad, the third child. Uncle Zhou hesitated, and said, Lu Lingmei is killing the third child. I didn't see it before. She is such a cruel person. If she insists, the third child. Mr. Zhou waved his hand. I have arranged for someone to deal with this matter, don't worry. Uncle Tuesday breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. See Chu Xia showing doubts. Zhou Jiping explained to her in a low voice, it turned out that after Lu Lingmei left Zhou's house angrily yesterday, I went to find Uncle Wednesday. After meeting Uncle Wednesday, she apologized very gently to him. Said that she was wrong before, but now that Uncle Zhou has come to this point, she is very sad. Seeing her crying sadly, Uncle Wednesday comforted her, saying that the past is over, he doesn't blame her, and no matter what happens to him in the future, he will let her live a good life. At this moment, Lu Lingmei took advantage of the opportunity and threw herself into Uncle Wednesday's arms. Uncle Wednesday, whose heart is softening. Of course, she hugged her, and then she started yelling like hooligans. The scene everyone saw was that Uncle Wednesday was holding Lu Lingmei in his arms and covering her mouth, so now Uncle Wednesday was also locked up. How could she do this? Chu Xia was speechless. It's said that a married couple can be kind for 100 days, how many years have they been married, how did they get into trouble like this? Zhou Jiping sighed softly, that person Lu Lingmei won't suffer even the slightest loss. She didn't make a profit when she came to us, so of course she has to make up for it. How about fourth sister? Chu Xia was still thinking about Zhou Xiangping. Just like we thought, she was dying of panic at home. Grandpa Liao was good enough. When he went out, he locked her in the house. I just talked to her through the door. I was quite angry at first, but Grandma Liao wiped her tears and explained that Grandpa Liao broke his leg because of our family's affairs these 2 days. It was because he was worried about Xiaoxi's temperament that he dared not let her come out. I also don't get angry easily. Lao Liao's legs didn't run in vain. Mr. Zhou interjected, don't blame him. In fact, it's not wrong to lock up Xiaoxi. With Xiaoxi's temper, Lu Lingmei came here yesterday, and she didn't lock her up. It would be strange to beat him down. That's right, Grandpa, why didn't I make a move yesterday? Zhou Jiping looked annoyed. Compared with Xiaoxi, I am indeed not bloody enough. First I blamed Chu Xia, and then I forgot to protect Grandma and Mother. Yesterday Xiaoxi, you're right, I'm just a loser. Okay, it's enough for her to be a bear, so don't make any more trouble. Lin Yangkao said and looked at Chu Xia. By the way, Chu Xia, did Mei Yitong say anything else to you? You mean? It's about him and Xiaomi. I said it. Chu Xia nodded. They said they were friends before, and the relationship faded later. Didn't you say anything else? No. Lin Yangkao breathed a sigh of relief. Chu Xia, if someone talks nonsense about Xiaomi in the future, don't believe it. If there is anything you don't understand, just ask Mom. Okay, without waiting for Chu Xia to answer, the old lady Zhou answered, what you said is that there is no silver 300 taels here. If I were Chu Xia, I would have to think about what is so shameful about Xiaomi right now. Something worries you so much. Chu Xia, Grandma, to tell you the truth, back then Mei Yitong and Xiaomi both liked Yemiru, but Yemiru liked Xiaomi, and the relationship between the Zhou and Ye families was good, so they made an appointment with Xiaomi early on. Because of this matter, the relationship between Mei Yitong and Xiaomi has weakened. Of course, there is another reason that they have different ways and do not seek each other. In short, Xiaomi didn't do anything shameful, and later she broke up with Yemiru, and the fate between the two of them was over. Your mother, that's just worrying, don't take it to heart. Grandma, I know. Chu Xia patted his nose in a concealed manner, so why does each person explain this to each other? Jing Zhe said that Yemiru likes Zhou Yitong, and the old lady Zhou said that Yemiru likes Zhou Mikang. I don't know who Zhou Mikang himself thinks Yemiru likes. Well, if you have time, she be sure to ask him, or full of curiosity. After the whole family had dinner, they all stayed at home and didn't go to work. Don't they want to stay at home? But Lu Lingmei, after sending her ex-husband Uncle Jojo to the detention center, she immediately felt refreshed, and after a night of sleep, she woke up even more refreshed. After breakfast, she took the car picked up by Xiaobing and went to Zhou Huikang's school. She still attaches great importance to her son. If she can take this opportunity to bring her son back to her side, it will be worth it. In the end, things were beyond her expectation. When Zhou Huikang met her, he sneered at her and made it clear that he would have no mother, only father. Xiaobing, who came with her, couldn't see it at first, and wanted to step forward to say a few words to help, but in the end, Zhou Huikang punched him black-eyed. At this time, Sima Zhao's heart was known to accompany Lu Lingmei on business. Xiao Binqi naturally didn't dare to make a big deal out of it, so he took Lu Lingmei and left in despair. Binqi, I'm sorry. On the way, Lu Lingmei apologized to Xiao Binqi. It's okay. Xiao Bing put his big hand under hers calmly. You've had such a hard life, and it's only right to help you. If Zhou Gangping thought like you, we wouldn't be where we are today. Lu Lingmei sobbed softly. I'm not an ambitious woman, I just thought that my husband could support the house, but he would. He was so useless that he didn't dare to fight for anything in front of his father. I have nothing to do with myself, but what will my children do in the future? Will Zhou Jingping and the children of Zhou Shanping's family ride on his neck and shit all the time? I told him this truth more than once, but he just couldn't listen to it, and said that I was narrow-minded. Marrying this kind of person, I was really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. Okay, I'm divorced now, and I will have a good life in the future. If you want, I can arrange a good marriage for you, but... Xiao Bing patted her hand and sighed softly, that way you can't live at home. I haven't thought about getting married, but... Lu Lingmei wiped her tears, it's not safe for me to live in Xiao's house, after all, it's my son-in-law's house, so it's not unreasonable for me to live all the time. For the past 2 days, I've been thinking about finding a house to move out. In the future, if brother Xiao needs my help, ask Iping to send me a letter, and I'll be there on call. Did Lu Yui give you a bad face? Xiao Binky asked. No, but... After a pause, Lu Lingmei said, however, I can see that sister-in-law doesn't like me living in Xiao's house. Okay, I'll let her go back to her hometown tomorrow, so you can live in peace. How about that? What's wrong? You're in trouble right now. I should help. Like her, she has long hair and short knowledge. I won't say anything if I can't help. I can only add to the chaos. It's not like you. Xiao Bing parked the car on the side of the road, looked at Lu Lingmei intently. I can see all the kindness you have done to me. I know, you tossed Zhou Gangping in, it was for me, to give you an out. I am a father, compared with you, I am ashamed. Lu Lingmei was taken aback for a moment, and then quickly echoed, a half-son-in-law, I should do this as well. Have a capable woman, so you don't have to worry about it. Xiao Binky sighed while talking, Zhou Gangping, I really don't know how to grasp it. Lu Lingmei lowered her head pitifully, it means brother Xiao praised me. In the eyes of others, I am probably unreasonable. Men are useless. If women are not strong, how can we live? Don't pay attention to those nonsense. Xiao Bing grabbed Lu Lingmei's hand and shook it vigorously. During this time, the family will trouble you. I'm so worried. Yeah, Lu Lingmei nodded, blushing to the base of her neck, but her heart was filled with joy. Things were developing step by step according to her plan, or, it wasn't long before she sat on the throne of the mistress of the Xiao family. As soon as Lu Lingmei arrived home, she was dragged into the room by her daughter Zhou Iping. Mom, tell me the truth, are you playing tricks on my father-in-law? This child, how do you talk? Lu Lingmei looked a little unnatural. Zhou Iping's face was pulled down, it seems that what Ziahua said is true. He said that my father-in-law accompanied you to school. You two are very close. I still don't believe it. It turns out that it is true. Mom, have you missed me? If you are with my father-in-law, what will Yuan and I do? Could it be that you want us to divorce for yourself? Iping. Lu Lingmei took her daughter's arm and lowered her voice, don't yell, Mom is doing this for you, take advantage of this time to help you drive away your mother-in-law, you are the hostess of this house, silly boy, how can Mom get together with your father-in-law, Mom is using him. Really? Zhou Iping stared at her in disbelief. Of course, Lu Lingmei nodded solemnly, you are mother's daughter, how could mother lie to you? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 254. Zhou Iping was a little dubious about Lu Lingmei's words, so she said, Mom, then you swear to me that you didn't mean anything to my father-in-law. Iping, what do you mean? Lu Lingmei stared at her daughter in displeasure, I am your own mother, you can't even believe what I say, who else can you trust? I don't believe in anyone, except myself. Zhou Iping spread her hands, because you are my own mother, I can't believe it even more. You. Lu Lingmei restrained her anger, and said earnestly, you also know that your brother has deep feelings for your father, and he must be angry at me for dealing with your father, so he wanted to turn our mother against each other. In that way, it's like letting your father go out indirectly, you silly girl, why did you fall for that bad boy's tricks? Zhou Iping smiled faintly, of course I know the purpose of Zhou Huikang telling me this, but I can't be fooled by him, I know exactly what kind of person my mother is. The premise of my mother's everything is that I must be able to bring benefits to my mother. If my mother can personally enjoy this benefit, then I don't need to think about what my mother's choice is. Dad who has lived with mom for more than 20 years, mom can throw it away, doesn't that explain the problem? If it wasn't for you, would mom divorce? Iping, are you too heartless? Mom is living for you, but you are so suspicious of mom. Lu Lingmei cried repressedly, today, mom is still with you. Your father-in-law proposed to move out, because your father-in-law didn't like your mother-in-law's ignorance and missed his affairs, so he let me continue to live. I agreed to come down, just thinking, to take this opportunity. No matter how stupid she is to clear the way for you. Also your mother-in-law, as long as she's here. You have to follow her, otherwise, someone will poke your spine. Don't you understand these principles? Mom raised you up so much and followed you in everything, and you ended up like this? Iping, you really chilled mom. Zhou Iping also hesitated when Lu Lingmei cried out with snot and tears. Could it be that she really misunderstood? But, seeing her hesitation, Lu Lingmei stood up and said, forget it, mom won't make things difficult for you. Mom will pack up and leave now. Let's make do with the hotel for a while. When I turn around, mom will rent a cheap house. No matter how hard it is, I will let you go tired. Mom doesn't want to make her own daughter feel unhappy. Mom. Zhou Iping grabbed her tightly, Mom, I was wrong, I shouldn't be thinking wildly. I really fell into Ziahua's trick. Actually, in fact, he and I analyzed this matter. After thinking about it afterwards, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that his analysis was right. Now that I think about it, I was so stupid. Fool. Lu Lingmei fondled her daughter's head. Why does mom often make trouble for you and Ziahua? That's right, when you were young, mom was patriarchal and treated your younger brother better. But later, when you grew up and became sensible, mom loved you more. You are a straightforward child, you can easily offend people by saying what you say, and people with a background like ours will certainly not be small people. Mom is worried that you will suffer, so she protects you in everything. Back then, your mother didn't approve of your marriage with Yuan, because she was afraid that you would suffer a disadvantage if you came to Xiao's house, but afterward, my mother found out that your vision was better than mother's in this matter. Seeing that the Xiao family has achieved today's achievements, surpassing the Zhou family, mom is really happy for you. After all these years, they don't regard the Xiao family as a decent family, but what happened? They all thought that Zhou Xiangping married well, but actually. As for the cowardly old man of the Liao family, how can he compare with your father-in-law? As for Liao Hui, he has no strengths to compare with Yuan, but they are all blurred and can't understand. Do you know how happy mom is when they see you turn over? When this person is happy, he tends to get carried away. Mom really did get carried away, so she thought, hurry up and use this opportunity to secure the power of the Xiao family for you. You said that mom can ignore the relationship between husband and wife for more than 20 years, Iping, if it wasn't for you, would mom treat your dad like that? You should know that your father-in-law hates the Zhou family. As long as the Zhou family is unlucky, he will be happy. Will your mother be happy if you put your father in it? But mom still did that, mom was trying to please your father-in-law for you. As a daughter, can you treat your father like that? You can't do it, mom did it for you, and you still wronged mom, woo woo woo. Lu Lingmei pressed her head under the pillow and cried with her back arched. Zhou Iping, who was already mentally active, really believed it now. Think about it, when her mother and her father filed for divorce, nothing happened to the Zhou family. Speaking of which, her mother really divorced her father because of her. These years, although the relationship between her mother and her father was not good, it was still quite harmonious. She personally sent her husband, who had lived for more than 20 years here, She thought about herself, and regretted it even more. Mom, don't be angry with me. It's all my fault. Mom, I'm sorry. I promise, I won't talk nonsense anymore. From now on, I will listen to whatever you say. I know that Mom is the best for me. It's time for someone to die. Joe Iping lifted the pillow and helped Lu Lingmei up as she spoke, and wiped away the tears from her face, joking with a smile. Look, Mom is crying like a cat with a pretty face. I hate it. Did you say that about your mother? Lu Lingmei laughed through her tears. Mom is serious with you. Your father-in-law told me today that you are going to send your mother-in-law back to your hometown. When the time comes, even if you pretend, you have to pretend that you don't want your mother-in-law to leave, and say something nice for her. Why? In order not to let her say bad things about you, you still have your husband and wife. From now on, you will definitely take over and live with you. If your husband and wife don't like you, you will not be comfortable today. Yu sighed. Lu Lingmei continued, Iping, it is impossible for Mom to live here and help you all the time. After this extraordinary period, she will eventually leave. Mom. This time, it was Joe Iping who cried. When she came out of the house, the mother-in-law Lu Yue saw that the eyes of both the mother and daughter were red, and she thought it was a conflict between the mother and daughter, so she asked, What's the matter? It's okay, I may have to move out. I've lived here for a long time, so it's inevitable that someone will gossip. Lu Lingmei took Lu Yue's hand and sighed softly, Yue, you are kind-hearted, so you took me in as a homeless person. The poor man who returns is here. Lu Yue hurriedly said, You can live here, anyway, the room at home is empty. Really, Lao Xiao told me to avoid dealing with outsiders. I was really bored at home. Since you came, I just found it more interesting to live here. She really doesn't like this place. Here, no one chats with her, no one hugs her. If she is not careful, she will be scolded by Xiao Binky. Her son is also lukewarm to her. Everywhere she went, there were people smiling and praising her. She really missed that feeling. But, Lu Lingmei said hesitantly, but outsiders always say something bad, and the mother-in-law always lives in the son-in-law's house. It really can't be justified. What's the matter? I heard from old Xiao that you fell out with the Zhou family because of Aryuan. If you treat the Xiao family like this, the Xiao family can't do that ungrateful and sorry thing to you, right? Director Xiao really told you? Lu Lingmei expressed surprise. Sister-in-law, you think so too, don't you? Right. Watching her mother and mother-in-law chatting more and more passionately, Joe Iping secretly admired her mother's skills. If she didn't know what her mother was thinking, she would really think that she was leaving sincerely and respecting her mother-in-law sincerely. However, this trick will really save a lot of trouble. It can be seen that the mother-in-law misses her life in her hometown, and with her mother's words as a basis, when the father-in-law proposes to let her go back to her hometown for a period of time, the mother-in-law will definitely hand over this home to her mother with special confidence. Why didn't she find out before that her mother really has a lot of skills when she plays with people? Thinking of this, she began to doubt what her mother said to her again. According to her observation since she was a child, in fact, her mother is a selfish person in her bones. Thinking about her mother's kindness to her, it is also because of her father-in-law's career. With the improvement, at the beginning, my mother didn't want to see Xiao Yuan, let alone her. She absolutely believed that if her mother was with her father-in-law, Xiao Yuan would definitely not be with her. In the past few years of marriage, the relationship between the two has become so weak that it cannot be any weaker. While Joe Iping was struggling to live and die here, Xiao Yuan was just beautiful. With Zaira by his side, how could he not be beautiful? The beautiful little girl who didn't like him very much before, now calls him brother Xiao one by one, and doesn't think his face is swollen and ugly, so she carefully rubs medicine on him and waits on him patiently. Life, don't be too beautiful. However, he didn't notice that Xiao Ryu, who was smiling like a flower when facing him, would completely suppress the smile on her face when she turned her back, and the disgust in her eyes was even more clearly visible. "Ruer, turn around, brother wants to look at you." Xiao Bing raised his mouth with a temporary denture made by the doctor, and his speech is completely normal. "Brother Xiao." Xiao Ryu put down the cotton wool in her hand, turned her head and smiled sweetly at him. "Don't always talk like that, I'm too embarrassed." "What's so embarrassing? You know, I've liked you for a long time. As long as you say a word, my brother will immediately divorce the yellow-faced woman at home and let you be the daughter-in-law of the Xiao family. How about it?" "How about that?" Xiru smiled blushingly. "In that case, I will be drowned in spittle, and my parents will also deny me as a daughter. They hate people who destroy other people's families the most." Xiao Yuan hugged her with a smile. "When I get well, go see our parents in person, propose to them, and explain to them that without you, my marriage will not last. You said that she can live a good life for herself, and she doesn't even recognize her own father and father. Such a woman is so chilling. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 255. Lin Xiaofen decided to have an operation because she still has to wait for her eyesight to recover before she can bring up An Ran's child. Knowing that An Ran was worried about the risks of the operation, Su Yuchen assured her that he would contact the experts in the United States to ensure that the risks of the operation were minimized. Gu Hengwen transferred the class, but because he was in the third grade of senior high school, he was directly facing the college entrance examination problem, so after the transfer, several classes continued without a break in between, and in addition, he had been in the hospital for the past few days to take care of Lin Xiaofen. Under such a high load, Gu Hengwen's body was a little overwhelmed. When standing on the podium for class, he was so dizzy that he almost fell on the podium. The students were worried and sent them directly to the hospital. The doctor said it was due to fatigue. In addition, I told him that at his age, his physique is not as good as it was back then, so he should pay more attention to rest. After Lin Xiaofen knew about it, she refused to allow him to transfer classes to increase her burden. In addition, he was not allowed to come to the hospital after class at noon. Gu Hengwen protested, but was directly rejected and invalid. In the end, under Lin Xiaofen's insistence, Gu Hengwen came to the hospital after get off work every night come to accompany Lin Xiaofen. And An Ran has to come over every day, but after all, she has a big belly, so many things are inconvenient, so Su Yuchen directly called Mrs. Zhang over to take care of her, and Qin Yun also came here a few times, giving her tonics and cooking it herself. Tang, reassure her to relax, don't think too much, she will help take care of one of the two grandchildren in the future. Although Lin Xiaofen and Qin Yun didn't meet each other for a few times, they felt like old friends at first sight. There was always a lot to talk about when they met. The two talked and laughed. Lin Xiaofen seemed in a particularly good mood. It's also good to look up, and there is less sickness on the face, and it doesn't look like a patient at all. An Ran still had to come to the hospital every day, but because she was a pregnant woman, Lin Xiaofen strictly controlled her time and did not allow her to stay in the hospital for too long. Although An Ran wanted to spend more time with her mother, but because of the baby in her belly, she could only I can obey the arrangement, come here every afternoon, and then stay in the hospital for an hour or two to talk with my mother, and then Su Yuchen will come to pick her up in the evening. The punishment for Su Yuchen has not been formalized yet, but due to the urgency of the Science and Technology City case, and the recent turmoil in the municipal committee, many things still have to be taken care of by Su Yuchen temporarily, but in view of the Yan Xiaoman incident, and the matter of Ling Chuanzhang and Tong Wenhai. In order to prevent some people from monopolizing the power, the Provincial Party Committee assigned another person to the construction of the Science and Technology City. In this way, most of the work in Su Yuchen's hands was divided. It turned out that his rights were cut, but Su Yuchen himself felt quite satisfied, so his workload was reduced by more than half, so he could spare more time and energy to spend with Ran and his children every day. After finishing the work at hand, Su Yuchen came out of the office and drove to the hospital. He didn't go to Lin Xiaofen's ward first, but went directly to the office of Lin Xiaofen's attending doctor. When he arrived, Dr. Zhang still had a patient, so he didn't bother him. He nodded towards Dr. Zhang, then exited again and stood at the door to wait. A few minutes later, after the patient's family member in the office came out, Su Yuchen opened the door and went in. Dr. Zhang nodded to him and told him to sit down on the chair in front of the desk. Recently, he has become used to Su Yuchen coming to him first every time he comes to the hospital to inquire about Lin Xiaofen's condition. At first he felt a little uncomfortable and cramped. After all, the identity of the teacher really made people feel a little stressed, but later he came more often, and he got used to it. It's really stressful for Mayor Su to come here so often, Dr. Zhang said jokingly. Director Zhang, just treat me as a family member of an ordinary patient, Su Yuchen said indifferently. I just came here to ask about my mother-in-law's condition. Dr. Zhang nodded with a smile, took out Lin Xiaofen's medical records from the file column, and said casually, well, those who didn't know thought it was Mayor Su's mother who was hospitalized. She is my mother, Su Yicheng said seriously. Dr. Zhang was stunned for a moment, feeling that he had made a slip of the tongue, and only said with a dry smile, yes, it seems that I can't speak anymore when I get older. Suddenly remembered the mayor's pornographic photos that had been widely circulated on the internet and in newspapers before. Incident. Many netizens on the internet expressed doubts about the conclusion given by the police, saying that this is all official rhetoric, and the purpose is to maintain Su Yuchen's image, and the details need to be investigated. But at this moment, he felt that the so-called official rhetoric might be the whole story. How could such a man who treats his mother-in-law as his biological parent, loves his wife so much and is reluctant to let her cry? The wife is sorry for the family affairs. Looking through Lin Xiaofen's medical records, Dr. Zhang said, from a professional perspective, when I tested her strength in the morning, she found that her eyesight had dropped significantly, which means that the tumor in her brain has pressed the optic nerve, and surgery should be imminent. Su Yicheng frowned, and asked, have you contacted the hospital in the United States? Dr. Zhang nodded and said, well, the email that came last night has already asked the people over there to arrange beds and outpatient hours for experts. Sure enough, if everything is ready on your side, you can leave any time this week. My side, you can also pass the medical records over there. Okay, then I will trouble Director Zhang to arrange it. I will tell my mother-in-law today. Su Yuchen stood up and said politely. It should. Director Zhang nodded and got up to send him out. When Su Yuchen was in Lin Xiaofen's ward, Ran was sitting in front of the hospital bed, chatting and laughing happily with Lin Xiaofen. She didn't notice even when he opened the door to enter. Ran, turn on the light, Lin Xiaofen suddenly said to Ran with a smile on the hospital bed. Ran was taken aback, turned her head and looked out the window. It was not dark yet, the sun had not set yet, it was still bright outside. She looked at her mother in a daze, and asked, Mom, what's wrong with you? Lin Xiaofen was taken aback by the question, subconsciously stretched out her hand to touch her face, and said, what's wrong, is there something on my face? No, you said to turn on the light. The panic in her heart was a bit exaggerated, and Ran's big eyes were fixed on her mother. Why don't you turn on the lights when it's dark? Lin Xiaofen didn't care, and suddenly thought of something, and asked again, by the way, Ah Cheng is busy today, why haven't you come here yet? Mom and Ran wanted to say, but was interrupted directly by Su Yicheng, who came in at this time. Ran. Su Yicheng made a sound, winking at her, signaling her not to speak, then turned his head to look at Lin Xiaofen, who was on the hospital bed, and said, yeah, I'm a little busy in the office today, so I'm late, and then asked, how is Mom feeling today? Is there any discomfort? No, no, I'm fine. There is no problem in being discharged from the hospital now, but you are all nervous. Following the voice, I looked towards Su Yicheng, but I could only roughly see Su Yicheng's approximate location, and it was still very vague. I sighed softly in my heart, knowing that her eyesight is getting worse and worse. When she took the vision test in the morning, she could hardly see what Dr. Zhang pointed out to her, and it was all based on her own wild guesses. Ayn Rand opened her eyes wide and looked at her mother, and then turned her head to look at Su Yicheng, who was standing beside her. Su Yicheng knew the panic in her heart, so he just stretched out his hand and patted her hand. Su was afraid that they would see the clue, so Lin Xiaofen drove them away with a smile, and said, "Hurry up and go back. Ayn Rand is pregnant and don't stay in the hospital all the time, there are many germs here." Ayn Rand tried her best to make her voice sound normal, and said with a smile, "I want to spend more time with you. I'm not a child, so I still need you to accompany me." Lin Xiaofen said angrily, "Ayn Rand, you will be a mother in the future, you should think more about your children, and don't come to the hospital from tomorrow." "Mom." Ayn Rand dragged out her voice, expressing her protest. "There is no discussion," Lin Xiaofen said resolutely. Ayn Rand wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Su Yicheng raising his hand. Su Yicheng walked up to Lin Xiaofen, and said, "Mom, I went to Director Zhang's place when I just came here, and he said that he has already contacted the hospital and experts in the United States, and we can go there directly after making arrangements." Before Lin Xiaofen could answer, Ayn Rand looked at Su Yicheng in surprise and asked, "Really?" Su Yicheng smiled at her and nodded affirmatively. "Great, I'll go there with Mom." Ayn Rand just wanted to remove the tumor in her mother's head as soon as possible, so that her mother could be healthy, and she would accompany her child to be born and grow up with her child, so that she could still be happy when she was in trouble and confusion. "You can talk to her." After a while, Lin Xiaofen on the hospital bed said, "Then, do you want to go abroad?" And Su Yicheng nodded, and explained, "The experts and hospitals are the best in the United States, and they are also among the best in the world. There are risks in craniotomy, and he can only try to minimize such risks. Why don't you just do it in China? Why go so far away?" Lin Xiaofen said, holding tightly with both hands under the quilt that Su Yicheng and Ayn Rand couldn't see. "Mom, let's go abroad. The United States is very experienced in this kind of surgery." Ayn Rand stepped forward and put her hand on her quilt. Lin Xiaofen looked at her, tried very hard, but couldn't see Ayn Rand's face clearly. Glancing at her face, she just said, "Let me think about it again." It's because she knows that this type of surgery is risky, and she doesn't want to go abroad. Ayn Rand still wanted to persuade, but Su Yicheng shook his head, but in the end he didn't say anything more. "Well, Mom, think about it carefully, don't worry." Su Yicheng only said that. Lin Xiaofen nodded, looked up at them with a smile and said, Okay, you all go back, it's really late if you don't go back." Su Yicheng nodded, "Okay." Holding Ayn Rand's hand out of the ward, walking to the elevator, Ayn Rand turned her head and looked at him fixedly and asked, "Has Mom's condition worsened?" It was clearly broad daylight, but she said she wanted to turn on the light. One can imagine her mother's pain. "How bad is vision?" Su Yicheng didn't hide it from her, because he knew that there was no way to hide this matter, so he just nodded and said, "Director Zhang said that my mother's illness can't be delayed any longer, and if it is delayed, I really won't be able to see anything." Hearing this, Ayn Rand's expression darkened, with worry on his face. Knowing the worry and fear in her heart, Su Yicheng held her in his arms with his hands, lowered his head and kissed her heart, and said, "Okay, don't worry, it will be fine." Ayn Rand glanced at him, pulled her lips, nodded, and when the two passed by the garden downstairs, Su Yicheng's cell phone suddenly rang at this moment. It was the call from Captain Wu of the Criminal Investigation Department of the police station. Su Yicheng pressed the answer directly. "Hello, team." And Ran stopped and waited for him to finish the call, then turned her head to look at the flowers in the flower bed in the distance. Because of Lin Xiaofen's matter, she looked a little depressed at the moment. What? I don't know what Captain Wu said on the phone, but Su Yuchen's face changed drastically, and his voice couldn't help but grow a little louder. And Ran was a little frightened by him, and turned to look at him worriedly. Su Yicheng only smiled at her, his brows were still tightly frowned, and he just said to the phone, "I'm in the hospital." Then he didn't know what was said on the phone, so he hung up the phone directly. Seeing that he hung up the phone, and Ran asked worriedly, "What happened?" Not wanting and Ran to worry, Su Yicheng shook his head, and only said, "It's okay, and Ran, why don't you go back to your mother's side? I still have something to do here, I'll go pick you up after I'm done." And Ran looked at him worriedly, "Are you really alright?" Looking at him, it definitely didn't look like he was alright. Su Yicheng rubbed her hair, "It's fine." And Ran didn't ask any more questions, knowing that he didn't want to worry about her, and believed that he was really fine when he said he was fine. Send her back to Lin Xiaofen's ward again, but Su Yuchen didn't know what he saw while waiting for the elevator, so he said to Ran nervously, "Ran, you go up first, I'll wait to pick you up." Run to the side of the aisle. Ran stared blankly at the direction he was running away, and frowned slightly. Although she believed that she could handle it well, she was still inexplicably worried. The elevator ding sounded, and the two closed iron doors slowly opened. When she saw the people standing inside, Ran was slightly taken aback, and the people inside were also a little surprised when they saw Ran outside the door. And unexpected. Ran didn't expect to meet Dong Xiaojia here, they hadn't seen each other since she came to the ward to make a fuss, so it was a bit unexpected to meet here today. Dong Xiaojia on the opposite side was also a little surprised, she was stunned for a while before stepping out of the elevator. Ran withdrew her gaze, past her to get into the elevator, but was stopped by her when she passed her. "Wait a minute," Dong Xiaojia called to stop her. "Can we talk?" "Off topic." "So much more today, go on a blind date tonight, everyone wish me this leftover woman can be sold as soon as possible." Oh, mathematical intersection symbol. Mathematical intersection symbol, oh haha. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 256. The second watch arrives. Brother Guo, my family is poor, but I don't want to change my fate in this way. It's not fair to his wife, nor fair to me. Brother Guozi, do you know what it's like to pretend to be smiling at someone you don't like every day? I often feel disgusted and want to vomit. Brother Guo, it's not that I don't want to resist, but I dare not. If my father goes to jail, our family will be broken up. Brother Guozi. After returning to the ward, what Li Xiru said to him before always echoed in his ears, and the scene of her hanging her head sadly, flashed before his eyes again and again like a movie. She is disappointed. She was disappointed in him. That's right, whether her mother had an improper relationship with Xiao Binqi or not, it had nothing to do with her, her eyes told him that she didn't lie to him. Glancing at Jingjie, who was busy with his head down, he finally clenched his fists. He can't bother the teacher with such things, he should use the only way he can do. Small as nice. Moreover, he said that he wanted to marry her. I have failed her once, and I can't just watch her fall into the jaws of a tiger. Wu Jingbo, who was sitting opposite, had been observing the results. Seeing him gnashing his teeth for a while, clenching his fists for a while, and thinking of his previous performance, he frowned slightly. After thinking about it, she waved at him, turned and walked out. As a result, he stood up and followed out lightly. The small actions of the two of them, of course, cannot be hidden from Jingzhe, but he misunderstood that the two young men were flirting, so he smiled and shook his head. Keep busy with yourself. Hey, you're not stupid enough to beat up that man, are you? As soon as he went out the door, Wu Jingbo lowered his voice. I'm not that stupid. If I beat him up, I'm finished, and the teacher will also be implicated. I have found a solution, and I won't implicate the teacher. Don't worry. What way? Wu Jingbo asked. I want to marry her. As long as she is married, Xiao Yuan can't make up her mind. Silence for a while. Wu Jingbo nodded. After all, this seems to be the easiest solution, but have you ever thought about it? What will you do if her leader refuses to approve her marriage? Qiaqiao scratched his head in distress. There is no other way for the time being, I can only try it first. I'm not pouring cold water on you. If her leader intends to let her be with his son, she will file a marriage report now. It's basically delivered to the door by herself. As a result, his face turned black all of a sudden. Didn't he? The marriage report was a dozen. Didn't it just force the Xiao family and his son to speed up their pace to make rice and cook it? If so, Xiao can only marry Xiao Yuan. They wouldn't be so blatant, would they? The result said with some fluke. Wu Jingbo didn't say anything, but she could tell from her expression that the idea that she was making fun of the result was too idiotic. Junior sister. Do you have a good idea? Guo smiled flatteringly. Your junior sister looks confident. I think there should be a way. Right. For the sake of your love and righteousness to your childhood sweetheart, let me ask my uncle to help her with her marriage report. You can go to her to discuss this matter first. If it is settled, send her work unit and detailed information. Give it to me. After a short pause, Wu Jingbo added, tonight is my cousin's birthday, and I happen to be going there. Based on observation these days, it turned out that Wu Jingbo was not someone who made random promises. Since she said so, she would definitely be able to do it. However, he couldn't selfishly allow others to be retaliated against because of himself. Junior sister, I am very grateful for your help, but first, I have to tell you who Xiao offended. As a result, Xiao Binqi and Xiao Yuan and his son were introduced in detail, emphasizing the father and son's immorality and vengeance. Brother. Wu Jingbo smiled, you are a good person. She has always been cold, but now she is as warm and strong as a blazing sunflower blooming, so radiant. Senior brother Cheng. The fruit that had been summoned to the gods looked embarrassed, and said, I'm sorry, I lost my composure. Junior sister, you smile, so pretty. The smile in Wu Jingbo's eyes deepened. Aren't you afraid of making your childhood sweetheart angry? As a result, I scratched my head in embarrassment. Brother, to be honest, do you love her? Wu Jingbo asked after hesitating. I don't know. Qiaqiao shook his head. When I was young, the children in the neighborhood liked to play behind me. Later, when I got older, I became aware of the differences between men and women, so I stopped mixing with each other every day like when I was a child. But several adults often get together for dinner, and we often get together too. After that period of particularly awkward days, we often play together again, but we are no longer as crazy as when we were young, but read books together and talk about topics that feel like adults. Later, my parents had an accident, and our family was forced to move out of there, and we never saw each other again. I am really happy to see Xiao Ru today. It's just that I didn't expect that we would face such a problem as soon as we met, but if I didn't do this, I would never feel at ease in my whole life. Then let me ask you, have you ever been attracted to a girl? Wu Jingbo asked. The feeling just now appeared in the fruit's mind, but he knew that he couldn't say it, so he shook his head. No. That's fine, as long as you don't have a girl you're attracted to, no matter whether you are attracted to your childhood sweetheart or not, as long as you are together often, the feeling can be cultivated. Besides, you have the emotional foundation of playing together since childhood, friendship. It's not difficult for a brother-sister relationship to turn into a husband-wife relationship. Well, hurry up and find your little King Mei, I'll go back to the office first. Watching Wu Jingbo's figure disappear, he put away the trace of disappointment in his eyes, and finally walked to Xiao Yuan's room. When he reached the door, he knocked twice. "Please come in," a familiar voice sounded, and his heart tightened. Pushing open the door, he waved to Li Xiaoru, who was looking at the door with a smile, and then backed out. Li Xiaoru suppressed the panic in his heart, and smiled at Xiao Yuan, who looked at her questioningly. "Brother Xiao, it's my brother, I'll go out for a while." Xiao Yuan said, "It's uncle." Then I have to behave well. As he was about to get out of bed, Li Xiaoru quickly stopped him. "My brother is very honest, he may have something to do with me. If you go out like this, you will scare him of." "Your brother is a doctor," Xiao Yuan frowned. "I never heard you say that." "My brother does odd jobs in the hospital, but he only wears a white coat," Li Xiaoru said, and patted his shoulder lightly. "Be obedient, lie down on the bed obediently, and I will be back in a while." "Then hurry up." After Xiao Yuan finished speaking, he grabbed her hand again. "Kiss me once, and I will let you go after one kiss, or you are not allowed to go." Li Xiaoru's face turned red. She knew that Guo Guo was standing at the door. Through the crack of the door, she could see everything clearly. She really couldn't do this in front of the person she liked. While struggling, the door was suddenly pulled open, and an impatient face flashed in. "Xiao, are you? Hurry up." Xiao Yuan frowned, and then put on a smile again. "Uncle, come in and talk about something, I'm not an outsider." Afraid that the result would tell the truth, Li Xiaoru winked at him anxiously, and then said softly, "Brother Xiao, please stay by yourself for a while. My brother has a bad temper, so you won't be angry if he makes him angry. It fits." Xiao Yuan looked at the result in doubt. "Xiao, is he really your brother? Why doesn't he look like him at all? And he doesn't look like your parents either." "Brother, how can you be confused? I have 2 older brothers and 1 older sister." "Brother Xiao, and I don't know," Li Xiaoru said angrily in a low voice. Xiao Yuan waved his hands impatiently. "Okay, go and come back quickly." Li Xiaoru helped him pour a glass of water and put it on the bedside cabinet before turning around and going out the door. "Brother, what do you want from me?" Hearing Li Xiaoru's voice from afar, Xiao Yuan finally let go of his frowning eyebrows, but he was still a little worried, so he got out of bed, came to the door and stretched out half of his head to look outside, but saw Li Xiaoru following the man turning down the stairs behind him. He hesitated for a moment before chasing after him. After Wu Jingbo returned to the office, Jing Zhe looked up at her and asked, "What about the results?" "He went to see a friend and will be back in a while." "What friend?" Jing Zhe put down his pen. "I'm busy seeing friends today." "When did he have so many friends?" "It's his childhood sweetheart. The two haven't seen each other for several years, and they met again. The girl encountered some difficulties, and he wanted to help her." Oh, Jing Zhe nodded. He wasn't interested in such dirty things. He was just doing his duty when he asked. After all, he was the teacher of the achievements, so he couldn't ignore the whereabouts of his apprentices, could he? "I'll go to Director Song's place. If you need anything, you can call me on the extension." In her room while speaking, Jing Zhe had already arrived at the door. Wu Jingbo responded respectfully, staring at the door where the figure disappeared for a long time, then turned his head, sighed softly, resting his head on the book, turning the pen in his hand. Who can understand the girl's mind? Director Song was working on the first floor. When Jing Zhe walked to the stairs, he almost collided with a figure who turned suddenly. He quickly took a step back, and when he saw the other person clearly, he pulled his face down immediately. When Xiao Yuan saw him, he also shivered in fright, and unconsciously covered his mouth. "You're so brave." Jing Zhe looked at him playfully. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you when you get your teeth inlaid? Jingjie, don't bully me too much. If you dare to be rude again, I won't let you go. After Xiaoyuan finished speaking sternly, he ran to the ward, feeling afraid that if he was too slow, he would be caught by Jingjie again. If you smash the teeth, the temporary teeth are still teeth. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 257. One more. Director Jing, you're here. Seeing Jingjie push the door in, Wang Jing hurriedly got up to say hello, with a faint excitement on her small face. Jingjie nodded at her, and walked towards Song Xiao, who was looking at him with a smile. Please don't look at me with such eyes, okay? You are a rare visitor, why don't you allow me to surprise you? Song Xiao laughed while talking. Jingyi was talking to me the day before yesterday, asking me to quickly introduce you to a girlfriend. My sister can't say that kind of thing. Jingjie raised his eyebrows. It seems that you have never studied psychology, and you have to set your lines according to the characters' personalities. Do you think I'm an actor? Still set the lines. Song Xiao shook her head amusedly, and turned to the topic. What do you want from me, tell me. Jingjie's expression also became serious. I'll help Lin Chuxia get the study materials. She's probably going to stay at home for a few more days. Let me tell you in advance that you should make preparations here. Hey, bring these back to her. Song Xiao handed Jingjie a packed document bag. Since you want to make Lei Feng a living, then let me do it for you. I'm her brother, so I should help her worry about it. Jingjie took the file bag, waved his hand, turned around and walked out. Hurry up and find a girlfriend, don't let your mother worry about it, Song Xiao urged again. Jingjie turned around. Director Song, do you know why I keep calling you Director Song? Song Xiao blinked suspiciously. Is there a reason? Of course. Jingjie shrugged. You are my mother's friend for a while, and my sister's friend for a while. I really don't know whether to call you aunt or sister, so I can only call you Director Song. Okay, you can just say that. I love to worry about it. Song Xiao waved his hand indifferently. You can shout whatever you like, as long as you can listen to what I say. Jingjie. As soon as that guy Zhou Mikang got married, he was always compared and reminded. My mother found helpers one after another, sideways, blunt. Where is this going to force him? Teacher, Director Jing, is Lin Chuxia's cousin. Hearing the sound of footsteps walking away, Wang Jing couldn't help asking curiously. Song Xiao nodded. That's right. Teacher, why doesn't Director Jing find a girlfriend? It's not that he didn't look for it, it's just that he didn't meet the right one. Song Xiao looked up at her. Why do you care about his affairs so much, and you're attracted to him? Teacher, how many unmarried doctors and nurses in our hospital have no interest in Director Jing? Of course I am no exception. Wang Jing smiled shyly. Teacher, why don't you help me? I think you are getting bolder. Song Xiao laughed. However, the fat and water don't flow into outsiders' fields. Okay, let me try. Thank you, teacher. Wang Jing hurriedly thanked her. You have been with me for the past few years. You have worked so hard, and the teacher should worry about it for you, Song Xiao said sincerely. Wang Jing's eye circles turned red all of a sudden. Okay, let me just say that you are still charming. Song Xiao smiled and waved her hands. Go out to get some fresh air and adjust your mood. You will accompany me to the clinic in the afternoon. I'm touched, Wang Jing murmured and got up. Teacher, I'm going out for a walk, and I'll bring you lunch by the way. Okay. After leaving the office, Wang Jing hesitated for a moment, then walked to Jingjie's office. Boom. Come in. Pushing open the door, only Wu Jingbo, a young intern led by Jingjie, was in the office. Did Director Jing not come back? Wu Jingbo smiled calmly. The teacher went home beforehand, and may not come here until the afternoon. That's it? A trace of disappointment flashed in Wang Jing's eyes, and then, remembering that Wu Jingbo and Chu Xia were both members of the women's medical team, her eyes lit up again. Are you familiar with Lin Chuxia? Wu Jingbo shook her head, not very familiar. Then do you know that she is Jing Zhe's cousin? Have no idea. That's it? Wang Jing stood up with a smile. She may have to stay in her hometown for a few more days. I'm just passing by the way, when Lin Chuxia comes back, let's get together, and I will come to you. Okay, Wu Jingbo nodded in response, and said nothing else. Seeing that Wu Jingbo is not a talkative person, and guessing that she would not be able to find anything if she asked again, Wang Jing got up and said goodbye. Then I will go first, and I will come to Director Jing later. Okay, I'll tell the teacher. Wu Jingbo got up and sent Wang Jing out of the door. She didn't close the office door until she disappeared. Glancing at Jing Zhe's desk, a trace of thought flashed in her eyes. It seems that this Wang Jing has also taken a fancy to the teacher. Also, how many unmarried female doctors and nurses in this hospital are not interested in the teacher? Good family background, good looks, good personality, good education, good skills, and the son of Vice President Jing, who doesn't like such a perfect man? Lin Chuxia. Regarding the relationship between Lin Chuxia and Jing Zhe, she has always been a little unclear. When she was in the medical team, she could see that Jing Zhe was very fond of Lin Chuxia. At that time, she even thought that the person who was accepted by Jing Zhe as an apprentice, it should be Lin Chuxia, but in the end, this pie fell on her head. At that time, she was stunned. God, she was treated too kindly. Why did she, a descendant of a Chinese medicine family, come to study Western medicine? Of course there is a reason. It's true that their family is a family of Chinese medicine, but after the catastrophe and the current low status of Chinese medicine, the only ones of the Wu family who insist on learning Chinese medicine from the old man are her and my little uncle. Her father, her uncles, and aunts have all joined the government. Of course, relying on the old man's roots, they are all doing well. And Mr. Wu is not uncommon for his children's development in official careers. His wish is to promote Chinese medicine, but unfortunately, neither her nor the little uncle's qualifications can satisfy the old man. That's right, the old man is satisfied with Jing Zhe. Jing Zhe used to be the old man's student. His talent in this area was beyond the old man's imagination, but later the old man suffered a disaster and could no longer teach, and Jing Zhe finally chose Western medicine. This is the greatest regret in the old man's heart. She came here to make up for the old man's regret. In doing so, she didn't tell the old man that she asked her second uncle to help her in the medical team, but she didn't expect that everything went so smoothly and as she wished. She knew that with Jing Zhe's achievements today, it would be very difficult for him to transfer to Chinese medicine. Therefore, she had to prepare for a long-term war of resistance and subtly change him. She believed that when he saw the powerful curative effect of the combination of Chinese and Western medicine, he would be interested in becoming Mr. Wu's apprentice again. If she covered her hot face, shook her head vigorously, and forced herself to drive out the increasingly strong thought. She knew that if she couldn't control her emotions, then the plan would probably fail. Until now, Grandpa is still disappointed by her halfway rebellion. Several times, when she got to the point of speaking, she suppressed it and did not tell the truth. She didn't want to tell Grandpa that when she was able to say it one day, she planned to win back his favorite apprentice for him, but in the end, she failed. As a result, he opened the door and came in, his face blushing with excitement. Seeing that Jing Zhe was not there, he lowered his voice and asked, "Where is the teacher?" Wu Jingbo regained her thoughts, and said lightly, "Go home." She agreed. "And, she's very happy," Guo Guo said and handed a piece of paper folded in a square shape to Wu Jingbo. "I'm sorry, junior sister." "You're welcome, we are brothers and sisters, and we should help each other." Wu Jingbo thought for a while, and then added, "I think it should be fine, but if you get stuck, Don't blame me. The results quickly handed over. I am very grateful for your willingness to help, thank you. Jingzhe sent the materials back to Chuxia at noon, and after lunch, he returned to the hospital and brought over the food that Chuxia had brought to Luo Xiaoxian. How is Chuxia, these days? Luo Xiaoxian was very anxious, but it's not easy to ask for leave all the time, and no one said anything. She was almost suffocated. It's pretty good, don't worry. Jingzhe smiled at her. She asked me to tell you, study hard, don't worry about her. When she comes back, she will compare with you, who has made the most progress. Teacher Jing, I really believe in you. Jingzhe interrupted her, that's right, you should trust me. Luo Xiaoxian swallowed the questioning words, and said, Teacher, if there is any new news in early summer, you must tell me as soon as possible. Good. Will she be able to come back as soon as the vacation is over? Maybe a few days later. Luo Xiaoxian politely bid farewell to Jingzhe without further questions. In the afternoon, Zhao Liang came to see her, and she expressed her worries. The teacher said that Chuxia must be fine, but he said he couldn't come back on time. I was in a panic. Silly girl. Zhao Liang smiled and patted her head. It doesn't matter if what he said is true or not, and you can't help, so don't worry about it. Hey, Luo Xiaoxian was displeased. Chuxia is your cousin, it's too disappointing that you don't care about her so much. Worrying with you is because you care about Chuxia. Zhao Liang smiled helplessly. I have been a soldier for more than a year, and I know the situation of the Zhou family better than you. Don't worry, the Zhou family is not so easy to fail. They are definitely capable of protecting Chuxia. What we have to do is not to make trouble. Not to make trouble is the biggest help, understand? After hesitating, Luo Xiaoxian said, I want to ask the dean for help. Teacher Jing's father is the vice dean who can protect Chuxia, and the dean is upright, so he can protect her even more, don't you think so? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 258. Xiaoxian. Zhao Liang's expression became serious. I said before that if we don't make trouble, we are the greatest help, and this kind of high-level struggle is definitely not what you imagined. We don't have access to that level, and we don't even know who is in the same faction with whom. If we ask the wrong person and fall into the trap, we will only harm Chuxia. It's so complicated. Luo Xiaoxian drooped her little head, and said listlessly, just waiting like this, I'm going crazy. Now there is one thing you can help with, Zhao Liang said. What's the matter? Luo Xiaoxian's eyes lit up. It's about your brother. I don't bother with his affairs. Luo Xiaoxian froze again. She was really disappointed with this brother. When Chuxia got married, she accompanied her parents and went to visit his brother, but as a result, she got angry. When his brother saw his parents, the first thing he said was not to ask them why they came, nor how they were doing these past few months, but to ask how Zhong Hongying was doing. Dear parents, father and mother, are not as important as a woman who does not have him in her heart. The disappointment of parents can be imagined. She pulled her face down at that time and asked his brother if he had parents in his heart. In the end, her brother plausibly said, father and mother are sitting in front of them, what else is there to ask? At that moment, she really wanted to slap him across the face. Chuxia also told her that when Uncle Baohe and Aunt Yulan came last time, her brother ate scallion pancakes and said he missed his parents, but he probably missed Zhong Hongying, right? The key problem is that Zhong Hongying has long been a soldier, but he doesn't know it. This shows what? If she hadn't been afraid that he would do something out of the ordinary, she would have exposed the truth at that time. After all, we haven't seen each other for several months. I have been thinking about my son in my heart, even if I am disappointed. Even if she was unhappy, her parents didn't scold her brother, but her brother never left Zhong Hongying at all, and after sitting for a while, her parents left. Until her father and mother left, her brother didn't ask why her father and mother came to Sidia suddenly. She really felt cold towards him. But she said she didn't want to take care of it, but she was worried in her heart, for fear that something would happen to her brother, which would make her parents worry too. Seeing her thoughts, Zhao Liang patted her comfortingly. It's nothing serious, it's just that he's been in a bad mood for the past few days, and he's been training hard at other times except eating and sleeping. Probably because of Zhong Hongying's affairs. It's not convenient for me to ask more. He is your own brother after all. At this time, he needs the care of his relatives. Luo Xiaoqing said angrily, all he needs is Zhong Hongying. He doesn't need relatives. Actually, his mind is quite simple. He decided on one thing. He walked all the way to the end and hit the wall. It depends on whether he can turn around. Is there anyone to guide him? Zhao Liang said. After being silent for a while, Luo Xiaoqing sighed and said, okay, I'll ask the dean for leave now. On the playground, Luo Hunky was crazily doing giant swings, his face was flushed red, and his clothes were soaked in sweat. He was in the middle of a lunch break, and he was the only one on the playground. In the beginning, everyone came to watch the fun, but these days, it's no longer a surprise, Zhao Liang explained to Luo Xiaoqing. Luo Xiaoqing nodded, and looked at the man on the playground with a complicated expression who was obviously exhausted but still desperately holding on. Suddenly, the resentment towards him, the hatred towards him, was gone. Or, this is his character, if he is sure of one thing, even if he is unable to do what he wants, he will persevere desperately. If you like someone, you will only have her in your heart. If others say she is not good, he will not listen. If others say she is good, he will be as happy as a child. It's just that he liked the wrong person, so, her heart suddenly throbbed. As a family, they didn't really understand him, but they only knew to blame him. He is actually a man who can't turn a corner. Brother. Luo Xiaoqing stepped forward and called softly. Brother. She increased her voice. He can't hear it now, Zhao Liang said, stepped forward and grabbed Luo Hunky, who was still struggling to turn upwards, and patted his body to soothe him. Being pulled back suddenly, Luo Hunky turned his head awkwardly, his eyes fixed on Zhao Liang's face for a while. He turned back awkwardly. Brother, Luo Xiaoqing stood opposite him and punched him bitterly. What are you planning to do by torturing yourself so recklessly? After staring at Luo Xiaoqing in confusion for a long while, Luo Hunky twitched the corners of his mouth. Why are you here? Why do you think I'm here? Luo Xiaoqing continued to beat him angrily. Brother, what are you planning to do with such a desperate practice? If something happens to you, what will your parents do? They are all so old, you can't have another one. Do you want their lives? The corner of Zhao Liang's mouth twitched, wondering how his father-in-law and mother-in-law would feel when they heard this. Luo Hunky uttered a word in a hoarse voice, then paused again. Luo Xiaoqing hurriedly handed him the kettle, which she brought specially, and was praised by Zhao Liang for being careful. Gudong gudong. After pouring down a pot of water, Luo Hunky finally looked a little better. I'll make another pot. Zhao Liang picked up the empty pot, waved to Luo Xiaoqing, and left. Brother. Luo Xiaoqing took Luo Hunky's hand and stared up at him. When I was young, when others fought with me, you didn't protect me and stood aside to watch the excitement. At that time, I hated you so much, so especially looking forward to someone hitting you, and I can watch the fun on the side. But you are tall and strong, no one dares to bully you, so, all these years, I haven't been able to see my brother being bullied as I wished. But today, seeing my brother so unhappy, I didn't feel happy. Brother, can you start from today and pay attention to your relatives? I really hope that my brother will protect me so that when I marry Zhao Liang, he won't dare to bully me. Is that okay? Brother, I'm your sister. Elder brother. Josei didn't try to persuade her anymore, but just called out for brother every once in a while, and shook his arm coquettishly. Finally, Hunky's staring eyes softened, and she said okay in her voice. Josei shook him resolutely. Brother, please speak up, I didn't hear what you said clearly. Okay, this time, Hunky's voice became clearer, and, turning his head to look directly at his sister, he added, I will protect you. And Josei nodded at him with a smile like a flower, then half leaned on his body, hugging his arms tighter, but didn't say anything else. After waiting for a while, my sister didn't say anything more. Hunky couldn't hold back anymore. Aren't you curious why I became like this? If brother wants to tell me, he will naturally say it. If he doesn't want to tell me, it will make it difficult for him to ask. Josei smiled at him. Listen to what brother means, do you want to tell me? Zhong Hongying has also joined the army. She and our platoon leader Lu Lianbao got on good terms. Josei couldn't pretend to be calm any longer. This news was too shocking for his wife. The leader approved that Zhong Hongying's recruiting period was over, and let her marry Lu lieutenant. To celebrate this, the platoon leader invited us all to dinner, and she came too. Yes, the moment he saw her, he thought he was dazzled, and he hadn't received a letter from her for several months. He was looking forward to it every day and night. If it wasn't for the fear that she wouldn't marry him if he didn't serve as a soldier, he would have run home long ago. Go check it out. That's why he kept asking Zhong Hongying for news when he met his parents. He was really worried about her, thinking that something happened to her family. He even sent her the monthly allowance, but unexpectedly, she suddenly appeared in front of him in this way. When she saw him, she was shocked. This was the thing that hurt him the most. After writing so many letters, she doesn't even know his detailed compilation. How careless is that? That night, he endured it. Fortunately, he didn't talk much, so others didn't notice his strangeness. The next day, Zhong Hongying took time to find him and warned him not to tell her about their previous contact, otherwise, don't blame her for being rude. She didn't say exactly how to be rude, but the sinister and emotionless look in his eyes was deeply imprinted in his mind. Why didn't he expose her that night? Because even if he gets angry again, he doesn't want her to be laughed at by his comrades in arms, but she, actually warned him with that look in her eyes. Without asking a word, he turned and left. Then, these days, he didn't know what kind of life he was living. He could only paralyze himself with extreme training. He couldn't listen to the persuasion of his comrades, and the conversation of the leader. After hearing what he said, Josei felt a twinge of pain in her heart. They always thought that if they told him the real news about Zhong Hongying, he would do something out of the ordinary. It turned out that they didn't understand what he encountered now was countless times more serious than what they had imagined, but he carried it through in this way. He was hurting himself, but he didn't go to extremes. Brother, why didn't you question her? Josei asked. It's useless to ask, she won't be with me. Hunky let out a long breath. She wants to live a good life, and I can't let her ruin it. Josei. She didn't know what to say. I know you think I'm stupid. After a pause, Hunky continued, when I beat her up, I thought she was good looking, capable, and good at everything. It's good if she can talk to me for a few days. Anyway, she can't marry me anymore. If I ruin her marriage again, that's not good. Josei stared at her brother fixedly. He didn't know what true love is, but he was true love, because Zhong Hongying didn't have this blessing, it was a good thing. Zhong Hongying, it really wasn't suitable for her brother. Brother, please behave well. There are many single nurses in our hospital. If you can be promoted to monitor, I will help you find a good one. I don't want to look for it. Ludo Hunky shook his head. I want to focus on training, to honor my parents, and prevent the villagers from laughing at them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 259. The second watch arrives. It's late, alas, I will continue to work hard tomorrow. If I really want my parents to look good, I can't put all my mind on training. I know what they are looking forward to. Ludo Xiaoxian persuaded. Zhong Hongying doesn't follow me because she thinks I'm worthless and a small soldier. After a long pause, Ludo Hunky said, I want to be the platoon leader too. Brother. Ludo Xiaoxian looked at her brother speechlessly. Dare she not give up on Zhong Hongying? That's right, with her brother's unyielding temperament, how could it be so easy to think about it? It's not bad to be like this now, she can't ask too much all of a sudden, and said, brother wants to make a difference, why don't you go to the military academy? Ludo Hunky scratched his head in pain. I can't learn it, and I get a headache when I look at the math problems. Mating, you said that if you don't take the military academy, you won't be able to catch up with platoon commander Lu. Looking at her brother's anxious eyes, Ludo Xiaoxian became ruthless and asked, brother, can you tell me what you really think in your heart? That is, if you are working hard now, is it for your parents or for Zhong Hongying? Ludo Hunky looked confused. I just felt that I became an official. I'm promising, my parents look good, Zhong Hongying can look up to me, I don't want to marry her, I just... Ludo Xiaoxian took her brother's words, just to make her regret it. Ludo Hunky glanced at his sister cautiously. Mating, do you think brother is bad? I'm finally relieved. The expression on Ludo Xiaoxian's face finally calmed down. Brother, it's a normal reaction if you want her to regret it. What's wrong? You were scared to death. I thought she did it such a wicked thing. Brother still wants to marry her, that's really hopeless. Ludo Hunky shook his head. I won't marry. I won't marry her if she marries me. I'll figure it out now. Even if I marry her, she will still have to divorce me. Ludo Xiaoxian has black lines all over her head, and she thinks quite far. By the way, why are parents here suddenly? Ludo Hunky asked. Finally I know how to care about my parents. Ludo Xiaoxian gave him a white look. You don't know about Chu Xia's marriage, do you? She married. Ludo Hunky looked surprised. Who did she marry? You. Ludo Xiaoxian stroked her forehead with a headache. The last time when Uncle Baohe and Aunt Yulan came, you heard Captain Zhou call their parents, and you were fooled by Zhaoqi Liang. I don't even know how to say hello. Chu Xia married Captain Zhou. Ludo Hunky's eyes were like copper bells. He was really surprised. This news shocked him even more than Zhong Hongying's marriage to platoon leader Lu. After all, in his heart, Zhong Hongying is no matter in appearance or talent. They are better than early summer, so it is normal to be able to marry a platoon leader. Head. Commander Zhou, that is a myth in the entire army, the object of everyone's worship. Unexpectedly, would actually like Chu Xia. Is there any need to be so surprised? Chu Xia looks so good looking, what's wrong with the captain looking at her? Ludo Xiaoxian gave him a white look. I really don't understand you. Why have you always looked down on Chu Xia? Forget it, I won't tell you these things anymore. She has become Captain Zhou's wife, why should I tell you these things? By the way, Chu Xia doesn't want too many people to know about her marriage with the group leader, don't let me slip up, if it wasn't for the sake of my brother's understanding, I wouldn't tell my brother. Our parents are here to show Chu Xia a happy event. Yeah, Ludo Xiaoxian pinched him. Write a letter to my parents when I have time, they are very worried about leaving. Ludo Hunky nodded quickly. I know, I will write tonight, Maying, don't worry, I will protect you from now on. My current name is Lugo Xiaoxiang. Lugo Hunky shook his head, it doesn't sound good, but Maying sounds better. Lugo Xiaoxiang stroked her forehead, her brother has such a stubborn temper. Forget it, he can call him whatever he wants. When Lugo Hunky returned to the dormitory, all the comrades in class 3 had already taken a nap. Hearing the sound of footsteps, several of them looked towards the door in unison, and then they all looked surprised. Xiao Lugo, what happened? The comrade in arms Xiao Zhang asked with concern. No. Then why don't you practice anymore? Well, after taking a nap every day and seeing Lugo Hunky coming in with his face flushed all over his body, and Lugo Hunky, whose clothes were only wet on his back, they were not used to it. My sister is here, Lugo Hunky said. Xiao Zhang swished to Lugo Hunky's side, and looked at him eagerly. Xiao Lugo, is the little female soldier who came to our dormitory with your sister here? Several other people also looked forward to it. It's not that they have any ideas, but that it's good to be seductive. Not coming. Didn't you come? Xiao Zhang repeated, disappointed, and went back to his bed and sat down, sighing, I'm happy for nothing. Okay, stop daydreaming, she is as beautiful as a fairy girl, how can she fall in love with you? If you don't try it, how do you know you don't like it? Xiao Zhang said and rushed to Lugo Hunky's bedside, and Lugo Hunky, who was half undressed, stopped, don't look at me, I will change clothes. They are all men, what are you afraid of when changing clothes? Xiao Zhang smiled flatteringly, Xiao Lugo, can I ask you for a favor? What are you doing? Help me tell your sister's good friend that my family is from City A, my dad is the director of the Land Bureau, and my mother is the deputy director of the Agricultural Machinery Bureau. What do you mean? Lugo Hunky looked at Xiao Zhang in confusion, she won't change jobs now. You. Xiao Zhang stroked his forehead with a headache, I know she won't change jobs, what I mean is, tell her my family background and let her know that I can match her. She's married was about to blurt out, when thinking of her sister's advice, Lugo Hunky had a rare wit, she's not rare. Xiao Lugo, don't you like her? Lugo Hunky was busy tying his belt, ignoring him. Xiao Lugo, don't be upset. I really like her. After seeing her once, I dream of seeing her again. Please help me, okay? I assure you that when you change jobs, the work will be on me, and I will definitely arrange a comfortable and decent job for you, okay? Xiao Zhang, you have bad ideas. Wang Hui, the squad leader, couldn't listen anymore, you are a corrupt bourgeois idea. Seeing that the squad leader was about to make a long speech, Xiao Zhang quickly waved his hands, squad leader, I'll take care of your job too, okay? And me? Yeah, what about us? Everyone started joking around. Xiao Zhang rolled his eyes and said, if you don't compete with me, I promise to do my best to arrange satisfactory jobs for you. Xiao Zhang has really paid for it? Well, I can see, I really like it. Xiao Luo, just help him, for the future of all of us, you have to help him, right? Everyone was laughing and joking, anyway, they didn't intend to fight with Xiao Zhang, no matter what he said was true or not, there is nothing wrong with a favor. I can't help. Luo Hunky threw down a sentence, then turned and left the dormitory. Everyone laughed at Xiao Zhang, it's not that we don't help, it's because he doesn't help, the work is on you, and it doesn't count if you don't speak. Okay, wrap me up. Xiao Zhang lowered his voice, and said mysteriously, by the way, the team leader's house seems to be finished. Which group leader? Of course it is our leader, who else can be the leader? You mean Captain Joe? Luo Hunky flashed in suddenly. Yeah, seeing that Luo Hunky was willing to talk to him, Xiao Zhang became excited for a moment, went to the door and looked outside, then returned and whispered, I was careless just now, but Xiao Luo is not an outsider, and neither are you outsiders, It doesn't matter. This matter has not been spread yet, and it is limited to families like ours who can get news, so keep your mouth shut, don't say it, I only said it as brothers. Luo Hunky interrupted him, what you said is true. Can I lie about this kind of thing? Xiao Zhang sighed, pretending to be deep and said, actually, our team leader has a bad temper, but he still has skills. Alas, it's a pity. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 260. Sitting on the tram on the way back, Luo Xiaoxian couldn't help asking Zhaoqi Liang, do you know that platoon leader Lu? Yes, he took us last year. His family is from this city. He has a good personality, but he is not tall. He looks a little dark and his vision is a little high. So he has not found a wife. He is 32 years old this year. Know what Luo Xiaoxian is concerned about. Zhaoqi Liang briefly introduced the situation of platoon leader Lu. Luo Xiaoxian curled her lips, a high-sided Zhong Hongying? How long has Zhong Hongying been reporting? By the way, did you know about Zhong Hongying and Liu's platoon leader before? Seeing that someone's small face suddenly fell down, Zhaoqi Liang hurriedly said, I know that platoon commander Lu has a girlfriend, and I also know that his girlfriend is a recruit who joined the army this year, but who it was, where it came from, I have no idea at all. If he hadn't brought us before, I guess I wouldn't have known about it. Men generally don't care about such things. What we care more about is who has the fastest progress and who is in the competition. If you have achieved good grades, whoever mentions it as a class. Luo Xiaoxian stared at him, you mean to make fun of our wife? Asking nonsense. No, I mean, men may be careless, and what they like is all about beating and killing. They are not as delicate as women, who know how to care about people. The corner of Luo Xiaoxian's mouth twitched, am I caring about people? Zhaoqi Liang didn't know what to say. Before waiting for a response, Luo Xiaoxian felt a little uncomfortable and coughed lightly, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to target you, I just heard that people like Zhong Hongying climbed Gao Zhi'er. I felt very uncomfortable and couldn't help but want to get angry. I know. Zhaoqi Liang patted her understandingly. Don't be angry, it's not worth it to be angry at yourself for other people's affairs. Luo Xiaoxian nodded and sighed softly, originally, she stopped pestering my brother, and my brother has already thought about it a lot. I am very happy, but as long as I think of Aunt Zhong and Zhong Hongying's temperament, I will. The anger doesn't come from one place. Chu Xia is encountering such a thing, Zhao Qian and her daughter will definitely pass it back, and Aunt Zhong will still be embarrassed in front of Uncle Yulan and Aunt Baohe by then. Okay. Zhaoqi Liang interrupted her with a smile, you really worry a lot, the Zhou family is definitely fine, it's just a matter of time for others to gossip. My sister-in-law and uncle are not so affected people who can't live without things. I see. But I couldn't help being angry. Luo Xiaoxian sighed while talking. The feeling of waiting like this is really uncomfortable. Yes, Zhaoqi Liang also sighed, although he has been comforting Luo Xiaoxian, but in his heart. Why not hurry? It's just that he is a boy, so he has to take care of him. Luo Xiaoxian suddenly stuck her head out of the window. Blinking her eyes vigorously, Zhaoqi Liang dragged her in. What are you doing? How dangerous is this? That. Luo Xiaoxian pointed to the door of the hotel that she was about to miss, look. Is that Zhao Qian? Zhaoqi Liang looked in the direction she was pointing at, and saw a short, stocky girl standing at the door, vigorously cleaning a black mop. Could it be Zhao Qian? Luo Xiaoxian retracted her head and curled her lips, so, this is what they are looking for in the job they are looking for. Zhaoqi Liang also sat back, frowning tightly. You don't feel sorry for her, do you? Luo Xiaoxian asked after glancing at him. She is my cousin after all. Luo Xiaoxian pulled her face, then get out of the car. Don't be upset. If I see her doing this, I'm still happy. It's too heartless, isn't it? Are you out of your mind? Luo Xiaoxian frowned and stared at him. She chose this kind of life. She betrayed the Zhao family and the Zhou family. Have you ever thought about it? If she looks similar to Chu Xia, I guess, she has already snatched Chu Xia's marriage away. Their mother and daughter are the kind of people who can kill others and cook meat and stew for themselves for their own meat and soup, so they won't think of blood relationship with you. It doesn't matter whether you like to hear my words or not, the fact is like this: if you meddle in their affairs, I really have to think about my marriage with you. I don't want to face a bunch of messy relatives and messy things in the future. My principle of life is, you treat me well, I treat you well, you treat me badly, and I don't know you. If you can't accept my character, then... Biting her lips, Luo Xiaoxian said resolutely, then let it go. It's better to let go earlier than to be unhappy in the future. Zhao Qiliang, who was a little uncomfortable at first, felt even more unhappy when he heard Luo Xiaoxian say this. Luo Xiaoxian, we've been together so far, and it's so easy to break up. Luo Xiaoxian regretted the words, but after hearing Zhao Qiliang's rhetorical question, her stubborn temper came up again. Since in your heart, a cousin who betrayed the Zhao family is more important than me, what else do I have to insist on? You lied to me when you told Chu Xia that you liked me? Or, now that you've become Dean Su's assistant, you don't like me anymore? Luo Xiaoxian, if you want to get along with me because I'm not as good as you, I broke up, there is no need to find other reasons, just tell me. I, Zhao Qiliang, am not a shameless person. Luo Xiaoxian kicked him angrily. You bastard. At this moment, the next stop was reached, the door opened, Zhao Qiliang got out of the car without looking back. Luo Xiaoxian chased 2 steps forward, then backed away, gritted his teeth resentfully. The quarrel between the two of them just now was heard by the passengers who were nearby. At this moment, they all looked at Luo Xiaoxian curiously. She, who was wronged in her heart, couldn't stand being watched so much by everyone, so she simply turned her head out of the window. Let the tears flow silently on the face. Zhao Qiliang got out of the car in a fit of rage, and regretted it a little. He wanted to catch up with him, but his self-esteem was disturbed, and he felt ashamed, so he simply walked to the stop where he saw Zhao Qian. Ever since Lin Xiahua and Zhao Qian were left behind that day, Xiao Yuan never appeared again, and Lu Zhenqiang, who sent them over, specifically confessed that they don't need to take special care of them, and the two of them can be regarded as falling into the blessing horde. The couple will always take the day shift here, but the day shift is much more tiring than the night shift. From 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., Lin Xiahua has to keep the toilet clean. Although it is a small hotel, the daily passenger flow is about 50 or 60 people. In addition to the hotel staff, the workload is heavy. It is conceivable that when she returned to the dormitory every day, her back was so tired that she couldn't straighten up. The most important thing is that she was so smoked that she couldn't eat at all. It's only been a few days, and such a blessed person has appointed Qin. Zhao Qian is stronger than her mother. Every morning from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., she needs to wash and change the bed sheets, quilts, pillowcases, and mop the corridors. The two women are not the kind of doormats. They naturally fought in the first 2 days, and Xiao Yuan was used as an example. Unfortunately, they didn't listen to them at all. I was about to go hungry, so for 2 days, the couple couldn't stand it anymore, so they had to obediently obey others' instructions. It's not that they haven't thought about running, but where can they run? Without proof, who would dare to use them? No one uses them. Could it be that they are begging for food? That would be farther away from the desire to live a better life. As for going back to their hometown, they just went back like that. Can they make money? Therefore, the two women had a discussion and decided to endure it for now. They felt that since Xiao Yuan agreed to them, he would definitely not ignore them. At this moment, or because he is too busy, I believe that he will definitely come to see them after a while. The two mothers have suffered so much, and of course they can't make Chusia comfortable. As everyone expected, they wrote a letter to their relatives on the second day, saying that the man and his family married in Chusia were beaten up. The counter-revolutionary was arrested and sent to prison. In the past few days, the couple managed to sustain themselves by fantasizing about Chusia being looked down upon. You know, in addition to the above-mentioned difficulties, they have also been bullied by their roommates. Every night after work, they have to be responsible for washing the roommates' clothes, including underwear and socks. If they resist, what awaits them is a punch. One of the most honest roommates in the same dormitory told them to endure it, and they will be liberated when new colleagues come. Therefore, these days, apart from fantasizing about the bad luck in early summer, the couple also fantasize about new colleagues coming to take their place. Hang Chi finished dragging the profile, rinsed the mop and dried it, and was about to turn around when Zhao Qian suddenly noticed a green figure walking from a distance, very much like her big brother. She squinted her eyes, and the man was getting closer and closer to her. "Brother," Zhao Qian howled and ran towards Zhao Qiliang. The two staff members at the door thought she was going to run, so they took 2 quick steps and grabbed her tightly. "Let go of me, it's my elder brother who came to see me." Zhao Qian pointed to Zhao Qiliang, who had already approached. "Brother, whoa, brother. What are you doing?" Zhao Qiliang, who was in a bad mood, took 2 steps quickly, pulled away the man who was pulling Zhao Qian, and handed over his ID. "I am her cousin." The man glanced at the soldier's card, nodded at Zhao Qiliang expressionlessly, and then looked at Zhao Qian. "You can't finish the work, so you have to work overtime at night, or your wages will be deducted." "Where is second aunt?" Zhao Qiliang looked at Zhao Qian and asked. "My mother was sent by them to dig the toilet." "Brother, you can count it? You can help us find a job, brother. If we continue to work here, my mother and I will be bullied to death."